If you have high cholesterol, if your lab results keep coming back elevated even while taking medication, or if you're worried about your heart health, today I want to talk to you about something very important. Many people don't realize that there are natural ways to help lower cholesterol, starting with something as simple as what you eat for breakfast. And that's exactly what we're going to discuss today. How certain foods, especially oats and other fiber-rich foods, can help your body naturally remove excess cholesterol. My name is Dr. Gabriel Mena, and throughout my medical career I've seen many patients arrive concerned about their cholesterol levels. I remember one patient in particular, a man in his early 60s who came to see me very worried. He had been taking medication for quite some time, yet his cholesterol remained high. When we reviewed his diet, we discovered something very common. He was eating the same way he always had, assuming the medication alone would solve the problem. After we adjusted his diet and added fiber-rich foods, especially oats, within a few weeks his numbers began to improve. It wasn't magic. It was simply understanding how the body works. That's why today I want to explain something that often isn't discussed clearly enough. In most cases, when conditions such as high cholesterol, elevated triglycerides, diabetes, or hypertension appear, medical guidelines recommend starting with lifestyle changes first. That means improving diet, adjusting daily habits, and applying what we call lifestyle and nutritional interventions before relying on medication. Over a reasonable period of time, often several weeks, many people can reduce their cholesterol levels simply by changing what they eat and how they live. However, what frequently happens is that treatment begins immediately with medication. People take pills for cholesterol, pills for blood pressure, pills for blood sugar, but their eating habits remain exactly the same. And then something very common happens. The moment the medication stops, the problem returns. Because the root cause was never addressed. It's like sweeping a room and then hiding the dirt under the rug. The problem is still there. I'm not saying this with anger, I'm saying it with concern, because I see it every day. People who could improve significantly simply by understanding how their bodies work and which foods truly support their health. To begin understanding this, there's something very important you should know. International dietary recommendations advise minimizing trans fats and limiting certain ultra-processed foods such as industrial pastries, margarines, highly refined products, and foods high in saturated fat. This doesn't mean eliminating everything completely, it means moderating and choosing more wisely. Now, there's also something that often creates confusion. Many people believe that the more cholesterol you eat, the more cholesterol you'll have in your blood. But the reality is a bit more complex. Some people can eat eggs regularly and still maintain normal cholesterol levels. This happens because dietary cholesterol does not always translate directly into blood cholesterol. In fact, in many cases what has a stronger impact is the excess of saturated fats found in certain animal products and ultra-processed foods. Some meats, certain dairy products, and foods high in saturated fat can contribute more to increased blood cholesterol than dietary cholesterol itself. But here's where things get really interesting, and I want you to pay close attention because understanding this can change the way you look at food. Your body actually produces cholesterol even if you don't eat any animal products. The liver can manufacture cholesterol because it plays essential roles in the body, particularly in hormone production and many vital biological processes. When the liver produces cholesterol, part of it is used throughout the body and another portion is stored in the gallbladder. There it mixes with bile and is released into the intestine when you eat foods that contain fat, helping your body digest them properly. Now imagine what happens next. The body expects something in the intestine to help remove that cholesterol after it has served its purpose. And this is where something crucial comes in: fiber. Fiber works like a natural broom inside the intestine. Its role is to bind to substances such as cholesterol and help remove them from the body through the digestive process. Your body is not expecting pills inside the intestine. What it expects is fiber capable of carrying that cholesterol out of the body naturally. And this is where one of the most studied foods for this process comes in: oats. Oats contain a type of soluble fiber known as viscous fiber. When oats absorb water, they develop a slightly thick, gel-like texture. That consistency isn't random. It's precisely what allows the fiber to bind to cholesterol in the intestine. In addition to oats, this type of fiber is also found in foods like beans, lentils, and chickpeas. But oats remain one of the simplest and most accessible foods to include in everyday meals. When this viscous fiber reaches the intestine, it can bind to cholesterol present there and help the body eliminate it. It's as if the fiber captures part of that cholesterol and escorts it out of the body. That's why many scientific studies highlight the role of oats in cholesterol control and metabolic health, something that can also benefit people living with diabetes or high blood pressure. There's another interesting point as well. Oats don't just contain soluble fiber, they also provide insoluble fiber. This is the part you may notice when chewing oats and feeling the slightly firmer texture. Insoluble fiber doesn't dissolve, but it plays another important role. It helps cleanse the digestive system and support healthy bowel movement. In other words, oats offer a double advantage. Their viscous soluble fiber can help trap cholesterol, while their insoluble fiber acts like a broom that supports intestinal cleansing. However, there's something important to remember: not all oats are the same. When oats are overly refined or heavily processed, they lose part of these beneficial properties, especially their ability to form that viscous texture that helps in the intestine. That's why it's best to choose oats that are as minimally processed as possible. People often ask me about other foods such as flax seeds or chia seeds. And yes, both can create a similar gel-like texture when hydrated, producing that slightly thick consistency that can support similar processes in the digestive system. When you include fiber-rich foods like these in your daily diet, the body can gradually begin eliminating part of the cholesterol circulating in the blood. It doesn't happen overnight, but with consistency, meaningful changes can occur. Imagine that your cholesterol levels are elevated. The body begins removing small amounts from the bloodstream, sending them to the liver and then to the intestine. If sufficient fiber is present there, that fiber helps eliminate it. Little by little, the body can start lowering those levels. Many people also ask what happens if they no longer have a gallbladder. When the gallbladder is removed, the bile ducts from the liver can adapt over time and release bile directly into the intestine. It's not exactly the same system, but the body usually adapts quite well. Questions also arise about whether oats can help people with diabetes. For most individuals, the answer is yes. Oats can be part of a healthy eating pattern for people with diabetes. However, if someone has severe insulin resistance or advanced fatty liver, even healthy foods can initially cause glucose spikes. In those situations, the problem is not the oats. The issue is usually a metabolism that needs time and gradual lifestyle adjustments to rebalance. That's why it's important to understand that no single food is miraculous on its own. But many foods, when used properly, can become powerful allies in restoring health. And that's exactly what this space is about: learning how your body works so you can make smarter decisions about what you eat every day. Let me tell you something very clearly. If a person is metabolically healthy, natural foods like oats should not cause extreme spikes in blood sugar. In my clinical experience, I see this often. Patients arrive taking several medications and still their results do not improve. When we begin adjusting lifestyle habits, including foods like oats and natural fruits while reducing processed products, many people are able to reduce or even discontinue certain medications. Not because of magic, but because the body begins functioning the way it was designed to. I remember a patient around 62 years old who came to see me frustrated. He had been taking medication for years to control both his blood sugar and cholesterol, yet his lab results remained abnormal. We began with something simple: improving his daily diet, adding oats at breakfast, increasing natural fiber, and reducing processed foods. Within a few months, his numbers began to stabilize. These kinds of simple adjustments are often the ones that truly transform health. Now let's return to the main point: cholesterol and how it functions inside the body. Let me summarize it simply. The liver produces cholesterol. That cholesterol circulates in the bloodstream, and part of it is directed to the gallbladder. From there, it is released into the intestine to help digest the fats you eat. But something interesting happens once it reaches the intestine. We need something there to help eliminate it. And that something is often not a pill. It's a natural food acting like a small broom inside the body. One of the best examples is oats. Oats contain a special type of soluble fiber with a sticky, viscous texture. This characteristic allows it to bind to cholesterol in the intestine and carry it out of the body through the digestive process. In other words, it helps cleanse the system. However, it's important to understand something else. While oats are excellent, they are not the only food that can help. There are other foods that can be just as powerful, or sometimes even more helpful, and that brings us to another fascinating topic: phytosterols. You may never have heard this word before, but phytosterols are natural compounds found in plant-based foods. They are not miracle supplements or artificial substances. They occur naturally in real foods. What makes them special is their chemical structure, which is remarkably similar to cholesterol. They are almost like molecular twins. Because of this similarity, something remarkable happens in the intestine. Phytosterols can be found in foods such as extra virgin olive oil, nuts like walnuts and almonds, seeds such as flaxseed, chia, or sesame, and whole grains that have not been heavily processed. Their main function is to help reduce LDL cholesterol, often called the bad cholesterol that is associated with cardiovascular disease. When phytosterols reach the intestine, they compete with cholesterol during the absorption process. It's as if two very similar molecules are trying to occupy the same space. Because of that competition, the body often absorbs the phytosterols instead of the cholesterol. And when that happens, the cholesterol remains unabsorbed and is eventually eliminated. This is why foods such as walnuts, almonds, flax seeds, chia seeds, and sesame seeds can be valuable allies in naturally reducing cholesterol levels. Scientific studies suggest that consuming between 1.5 and 3 grams of phytosterols per day can reduce LDL cholesterol by approximately 8% to 15%. In addition, these compounds also have antioxidant and anti-inflammatory properties that support cardiovascular health. Now I want to be very clear about something. Medications absolutely have their place. Some patients truly need them, especially when cardiovascular risk is high. What concerns me is when medication becomes the first and only strategy without first attempting lifestyle improvements. Because in many cases, when we change daily habits, the body responds in remarkable ways. Another common question relates to hypothyroidism. In that case, diet can generally remain fairly normal. Vegetables like broccoli, cauliflower, radish, or even cassava can still be consumed. The key is taking prescribed medication, such as levothyroxine, with water and waiting about an hour before eating. People also ask whether liver cirrhosis can be reversed. Unfortunately, once the liver develops advanced fibrosis or cirrhosis, the damaged tissue cannot return completely to its original state. However, lifestyle changes can slow or stop further damage. Think of the liver like elastic tissue. When it accumulates fat and becomes inflamed for a long time, it gradually hardens and forms scars. That is fibrosis. When it reaches an advanced stage, full recovery is no longer possible. That's why acting early is so important. Returning to cholesterol again, remember the role of oats. Thanks to its soluble fiber, oats act like a natural broom in the intestine, binding to cholesterol and helping remove it from the body. But when we combine that fiber with foods rich in phytosterols, the effect can become even more powerful. Imagine cholesterol inside the intestine waiting to be reabsorbed. Phytosterols arrive and take its place. The intestine essentially becomes confused, absorbs the phytosterols instead, and allows the cholesterol to leave the body. It's a truly fascinating natural mechanism. This is why foods such as walnuts, almonds, pistachios, sesame seeds, flax seeds, and chia seeds can play such an important role in managing cholesterol. One detail about oats is important. They should ideally be consumed as whole flakes rather than finely ground. When oats are pulverized, they lose part of the mechanical effect that helps cleanse the intestine. People also ask how fatty liver disease can be detected. It is usually identified through abdominal ultrasound. More advanced tests such as liver elastography and blood tests measuring liver enzymes, like transaminases, can also provide important information. Elevated levels may signal that the liver is under stress. Phytosterols themselves have been studied extensively in scientific research published in major medical journals. These studies confirm that the chemical similarity between cholesterol and phytosterols explains why they compete for the same absorption pathways. Because of that competition, the body absorbs less cholesterol and eliminates more of it. In addition to nuts and seeds, other foods rich in phytosterols include wheat germ, sunflower seeds, pistachios, and pumpkin seeds. When these foods are part of a balanced diet, they can contribute to lowering cholesterol naturally. But there's something I always tell my patients. It's not only about adding good foods. It's also about reducing those that promote high cholesterol. Otherwise, the body is constantly trying to clean while we continue adding more. Balance is the key. When we combine a smart diet with fiber-rich foods and phytosterols, the body gains natural tools to improve cholesterol levels. And these small nutritional strategies, supported by scientific evidence, are often what allow people to improve their health and sometimes even reduce their reliance on medication. Throughout the years, I've seen how small dietary changes can produce enormous improvements in health. This is not about rejecting medicine or ignoring treatments when they are necessary. Medications have their place. But it is also true that food, when used correctly, has extraordinary power that we often underestimate. Modern science is now confirming what nature has known for a long time. Certain nutrients found in simple foods can help lower LDL cholesterol. Among the most important of these are phytosterols, natural compounds found in plant-based foods that help block cholesterol absorption. Research published in scientific nutrition journals shows that consuming between 2 and 4 grams of phytosterols per day can significantly reduce LDL cholesterol. And here's something interesting. Many people think reaching that amount requires complicated supplements or special products. But that's not always the case. Some very simple foods naturally contain these compounds. One of the most notable is wheat germ. Wheat germ is a small part of the grain, but it contains an impressive concentration of nutrients, including phytosterols. In fact, among plant-based foods, it is often ranked as one of the richest sources. And the surprising part is that you don't need large quantities. Just 1 tablespoon of wheat germ already provides a meaningful amount of beneficial nutrients. Adding a small portion to your breakfast, mixed with oats, natural yogurt, or fruit, can be an easy way to include these compounds in your daily diet. Other foods that also provide phytosterols include sesame seeds and sunflower seeds. When incorporated into a balanced diet, they can help improve cholesterol levels over time. I remember a patient named Luis, a 62-year-old man who came to my clinic deeply concerned. His lab tests showed high cholesterol, and he had already tried improving his diet but wasn't sure what changes were actually necessary. We started with simple adjustments, improving breakfast, adding oats, incorporating small amounts of wheat germ, and including a few healthy seeds. Nothing extreme, nothing complicated. 3 months later, he returned with a huge smile. His cholesterol levels had improved significantly. It wasn't an instant miracle. It was consistency and small daily changes that made the difference. That's why I always insist on something very important. The key is not a magic solution, but building habits that truly work in the long term. The leading cardiology and cardiovascular health organizations agree on something fundamental. Strategies to reduce cholesterol should not rely only on medications. They also recommend lifestyle and dietary changes. Among these strategies, the consumption of phytosterols appears as a complementary tool within a comprehensive approach to protecting heart health. In other words, the goal is not to replace medical treatments with food, but to take advantage of everything science has discovered to support your health. When you combine a healthy diet, regular physical activity, good sleep, and proper medical follow-up, the body often begins to respond in remarkable ways. Sometimes we think that improving our health requires enormous sacrifices. But in many cases it begins with simple decisions: choosing a better breakfast, reducing ultra-processed foods, increasing fiber intake, and adding more seeds and natural foods. And most importantly, staying consistent. If you find this type of information helpful, I invite you to become part of this community. You can subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell, and share this video with someone who is also looking to improve their health. Maybe a family member, a friend, or someone close to you who is dealing with high cholesterol. Here on Dr. Gabriel Mena's channel, We share practical tips every day, based on science and designed especially to help you live with better health and greater well-being. Before we say goodbye, I want to share a small reflection with you. In the middle of so much information, so many concerns, and so many diagnoses, we sometimes forget something essential: to be grateful for life itself. For each day we are given and for the opportunity to learn how to take better care of our bodies. I always invite my patients to pause for a moment and give thanks to God. Thanks for the knowledge we have today, for the ability to improve our habits, and for the opportunity to start again, no matter our age. Because every day is a new opportunity to make decisions that protect your heart, your health, and your future. Thank you for staying with me until the end. Here on Dr. Gabriel Mena's channel, it brings us great joy to contribute a small grain of help so that you can live with better health and healthier habits. And remember this, tomorrow we will have a new video with more practical information that may help you feel better. I'll see you then. Your health truly matters.